Yeah, so my first bike trip after my motorcycle wreck. Let's talk about it. Man, where do we even begin? All right, what's going on YouTube? FXDLS Brooklyn is back in the building. And, I just want to say, like, before we jump into this, like, I did make a video about a month ago where, I kind of allowed myself to be a little bit more vulnerable and get a little bit more personal than how I usually get in my videos since doing this for about 7 years now. And those of you who responded, like the response to that was overwhelmingly positive. And again, it was related to my first ride coming back after almost dying and losing a leg in a motorcycle accident back in the fall. And again, just the comments and all the support, I just want to say I appreciate it, right? So if you didn't see that video, you don't even have to watch it. I would just go through and look through the comments because like there's a lot of really powerful anecdotals there of people sharing their own experiences with the dark side of riding. But if you haven't been following my journey, I was in a severe motorcycle accident back in the fall. I almost died. I almost lost my leg. I sustained life-changing injuries, which, on this channel, we talk a lot about positive mental attitude. And for a lot of people, that would just send you into a downward spiral, right? There's things that I love or loved that I can never do again. There's parts of my life that have changed that I've had to adapt ever since my motorcycle accident. So again, considering the response that I got to the first video I made, being pretty vulnerable and honest about my motorcycle wreck, there's a lot of people who are in this situation that I'm in, who have been in a motorcycle wreck and are finding their way out of it and some path to come back to riding, right? So I decided, I'm gonna try to do my best to document my journey to coming back to where I was before my motorcycle wreck. So if you haven't been following my content in the years before, for about 7+ years at this point, in terms of my riding style, it's always been to push myself to ride as far as possible, doing the bike trips, doing 800+ mile days like it's nothing, riding cross country, riding to Canada, putting in the miles, and again, not sacrificing performance, doing it all on the Dyna line, right? That's been my content, and that's been what I've been working back to, right? So again, I know from my injuries prior in jiu-jitsu, right, that when you sustain an injury, you want to come back slow, you want to come back small. So for me, obviously, I knew I wanted to come back to doing my true riding style, which is doing the bike trips, doing the heavy miles, but I also knew I wanted to come back small. And that's where the Lost Highway Motorcycle Show and motorcycle event sponsored by Deadbeat Customs, when I saw that, looking at the time frame of where I thought I would be in my recovery, I set that one on my radar as I want to attempt to have that be my first bike trip back, right? It seemed like a reasonable amount of time. I came in it with the mindset knowing that if I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't going to push myself to do it, right? The day came, and like you said, if you saw my previous video, I did start riding again, right? And I was ready to do it. And, in terms of the riding that I do, in terms of a bike trip, this one is child's play, right? We're talking maybe, I don't know, 1,000 miles over the course of a weekend. That's nothing compared to 7,000+ mile trips, which is what I usually do yearly. But again, wanting to come back small, that actually seemed perfect, and that's what I thought would be a really appropriate first trip back. And again, I just wanted to share this because I know a lot of you are trying to navigate a situation that I'm navigating in. So again, I just trying to make something that might be helpful for those of you who are going through a similar thing. So what I was doing yesterday is, man, those days of riding that are just like too perfect to be true, right? Or just too good. I was trying to document the ride as we went through it, and then I just went back this morning and I was looking back at some of the footage, and I was like, I was just like too excited to really even be making sense or capturing what we were even doing. So I was like, let me tie it back here. Let me sit down with the bike and tell you guys a little bit about the day, right? So one thing I'll say, and again, I'm not going to talk about motorcycle wrecks for the entire video, but anyone who's ever lost something or has had everything taken away from them, when you start to get things back, such as motorcycles, right, it hits very differently. And what I could tell you yesterday is literally, I just did like maybe 150-mile ride away from home with my dad and one of my good friends, and that ride was as exhilarating as riding a Sturgis and back, which is crazy, right? But again, things kind of hit differently after you've had a near-death experience, after you've been in a situation where everything's been taken away from you. So wanted to just tell you guys about the day again, and like tell you about it while I'm not actually on the bike, where I could collect my thoughts and give you a little synopsis. So what I'll do for this video, I think you'll enjoy this, is I'm going to cut back and forth. Like, I'll tell you about the day, and I'm going to cut back and forth with clips of us actually doing the thing. So you'll hear jumps in my voice of the excitement and the excitement and the pure joy of doing my first bike trip again. And then I'll come back here and, you know, I just had my coffee, it's morning, and I'll tell you a little bit about the day itself. So what happened is we had two options, right? Myself, Nick from Club Style East Coast, and the road captain, we knew we wanted to hit this event, right? But we were trying to ride up Saturday morning, right? Clear ride in the morning, miss all the traffic, stay Saturday night, and then come back in and out, right? But what happened is they're calling for torrential downpours in Brooklyn, in the New York City area in Saturday morning. So we kind of had to make a decision, which was, do we fight the rush hour traffic Friday and just crush through it, and then, you know, wake up further northwest and miss all the rain, you know, or do we just ride through the rain and then go to the event? So I got no problem riding in the rain. You know, I've done plenty of wet miles and plenty of miserable miles in my riding career. But what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to stand around at a bike event wet all day. Like, that's not fun, right? I got no problem being soaked on the bike all day. I just don't want to stand around wet all day at an event. So the road captain had the good idea, and he was like, you know what, let's just fight the traffic, let's just get through it, and we'll set up camp at night, and then we will leave from camp in the morning, and then that way we'll miss all the rain and we can do it on our own terms. And that's what we're doing right now. So we started the day, you know, everyone got off of work, and we started the day linking up at the road captain's house. So here's where it started. And as you can see, we have some familiar bikes here in the building. We have none other than my old friend, Nick Dyna Navy, Club Style East Coast, in the building with yay old 36 chambers, looking very fresh. Just put a new swing arm on there, got that dialed in. Some other little details we'll mention as our road trip picks up, but we're super excited. You know, of course, we have none other than the road captain also joining us for some fresh miles on this bike trip. The Ultra Classic, he almost decided to take the FXDLS, the Bushwick bike, but he wanted to go with, you know, what he's known for, which is none other than the Ultra Classic. And not too much going on from the last time y'all have seen my bike. One thing that's worth showing you, you know, we do have the new swag from the Club Style East Coast. Let me show you this one. And this is the most appropriate shirt to be wearing on this bike right now, because we are about to escape New York. We are currently on Long Island, and it is, what is it, 6 o'clock? It's currently 6 p.m., which means 6 p.m. on a Friday. Well, you know, we're about to be running into some serious, gnarly, hellish traffic. Club Style East Coast, what do you gotta say to the people?
We're out here. We're ready to go. Let's go.
How are you doing, road captain?
Doing good. You all doing good. All love to everybody.
What's the synopsis? What are we getting into today?
We're getting into some riding, man. We're doing some riding, some traffic and some riding. It looks like we're in a hill of traffic getting out of New York, but it'll open up.
Yeah. So as you can see, you know, there's a lot of excitement, but I'm also practicing that positive mental attitude. And you might say to yourself, "Oh, BK Low, you're like telling yourself it's going to be the most miserable traffic ever." But here's the thing. I was preparing mentally to be in the worst traffic ever, which, dude, I've ridden everywhere in this country, and the only place I've ever ridden that has comparable traffic to New York City is probably Chicago. Worst traffic I've ever been in is in and out of New York City, and I was preparing myself for that, preparing myself for the worst. So then what had happened is, because I was ready for the absolute worst situation traffic-wise, which is trying to get out of the city on a Friday night, when the road captain, which is why we call him the road captain, snaked us through a very secretive and exclusive route that I wasn't expecting, we actually wound up missing a lot of the traffic. And believe it or not, man, the ride outside the city for a Friday night was actually like kind of pleasant. There was this moment, man, where, you know, we were on the Whitestone Bridge, which is one of our bridges coming out of the city, where you see the skyline over your shoulder. The sun was setting, it was completely wide open, and I just like had this moment where I was screaming in joy in my Simpson helmet, just to see my friends, to be with my friends, to be with my family, to be doing a bike trip again, to just having this opportunity to do this thing that I live for once again. I was just screaming in joy. So believe it or not, man, like I said, if you ever need to snake your way out of some gnarly traffic or out of a gnarly situation, that's why we call him the road captain. He really got us through and, you know, did what we needed to do. So then we ride up, and now it's time for gas, because when you're fighting a lot of traffic and you're having to move through a lot of traffic, especially on a motor this big, you burn a lot of gas. So I knew there's no way I'm going to make it all the way where we need to get to without getting gas. So I rode up ahead, stopped us at a gas station, and I'll show you the next clip. All right, so here's the update. I thought when I was gonna be pulling this back that the sun was gonna be down, but as you can see, we're out here in Sloatsburg, right? We actually did pretty good. The road captain lived up to his name, and he actually picked a very good route that got us through minimal traffic. So we did pretty good. We kept it moving. You know, my bike's doing good. You know, definitely got those fans running, right? But yeah, we're about halfway into where we need to go. I don't think I really mentioned what we were doing tonight, but we're actually camping in upstate New York first. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna head out to the actual event in the morning, and that was the plan. It was kind of either do that or it was run in heavy rain in the following morning, and we decided that we were just gonna fight the traffic at night and, you know, ride into the sunset, which again has been really nice. You know, this is actually some of my favorite weather to ride in. But I'll tell you what, man, there was this point where we were just passing the Whitestone Bridge and I was just screaming in joy, man, because again, this is my first bike trip I'm doing since my bike wreck. And again, I'm doing it with my dad, I'm doing it with my old friend Nick Dyna Navy, so it just doesn't really get that much better than this, and we're having a blast, man. You know, like I said, my bike's been running great. I'm really happy with it. Definitely getting some heat in that traffic, but you know, once we got it moving, wasn't a problem. The road captain's ultra classic, looking mighty classy in that sunset. And then of course, everybody's favorite, you know it, the 36 chambers, doing great. You know, he's breaking in that new swing arm, man. This thing is just looking too clean. But yeah, man, actually hadn't gotten to ride with him in quite a while, and yeah, it's been a blast. And damn, man, does that thing look good in this light? How about that? You're gonna be seeing a lot of that in the content covering the trip. No, your taillight's out.
Yeah.
Your taillight's out, brother. This guy.
Yeah, the tail light's out.
This guy's riding dirty.
The light, when I hit the brake, it goes on, right?
No, your taillight's out. So we only got one taillight out, you know, we're doing pretty good, but we're just having a blast, man. Again, once it opened up, once we got into like the Tappan Zee and, you know, didn't have to fight through the traffic, it was just such a pleasant ride. And again, like, this is some of my favorite weather to ride in. So yeah, we're doing pretty good. The plan right now is we're gonna keep it moving, we're gonna keep ripping. We're actually gonna probably be putting in another 50 miles, and then we're gonna go get dinner at some diner that we like. And then after that, you know, it's Campfire Central. Gonna swap some stories around the fire, you know. All right, but here's the update from the boys. Once again, we got Club Sally's Coast. What's the assessment so far? How we doing?
Great ride. Hit a lot of traffic heading out of New York. You know, are we in Jersey right now? I don't even know where we are.
Sloatsburg, baby.
Yeah, so I don't know, but heading out of the boroughs, we definitely hit a lot of traffic.
Hey, man, if you don't know where you are, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, but it's all about the ride, so all good so far.
That's it, taking it from Nick Dyna Navy, you know, and then let's get the road captain's assessment. How we doing so far, road captain?
So, we're doing great, man. We got through all that traffic and with no problems, you know. It was a little rough, but no problems. And it was nice that it was cool out, so the bikes weren't really overheating. And it felt good. And then once we got to the open air, we let it rip, baby. And now we're at the rest stop, and we're gonna cruise up, hit the New Munson Diner, get a little grub. Hopefully it's still open when we get there, and then hit HQ.
All right, the plan now is we are looking for a diner. These bikes are looking mighty fine together, so doesn't get much better than that. Gonna look for a diner somewhere.
We're gonna take the diner to the diner. The diner to the diner. That's how you say it in New York. The diner to the diner.
Yeah, we gotta make a t-shirt out of that, man. That's the next t-shirt design. Diners to the diner. That's what we're doing right now, and we're gonna keep it moving. You know, we still got a little bit of sunlight left, and that's it, y'all. Road captain's doing his thing. Got his beef jerky flowing. It's time to hit that road, man. All right, so as you can see, the sun is starting to set. You know, we're feeling good because we got out of the traffic and it wasn't as bad as we thought. These guys are getting snacks, you know, and we're ready to keep moving. Now the next item on the agenda, now it's starting to feel like a bike trip to me, because for me, the bike trips is when things where you have to be flexible and you have to maneuver with things not going as planned. So the thing people don't tell you about having to get through and maneuver through heavy traffic is it makes you really hungry. So all three of us are super hungry. So now we're just riding through the night, like the sun is down at this point, and we're just looking for a diner, right? So we're riding, just looking for a diner, and then the road captain pulls off actually next to one of my favorite ice cream spots in the state of New York, over at the Quick Way Diner. If you know, man, like no one's got better ice cream than that spot in the state of New York. But we pull into this diner, man, and man, like after a ride like that and after getting through traffic like that, we got burgers, I had a Reuben. Diner food is never going to taste as good as that. So it was just like, it just felt so good just to sit around the table with friends and family again. And it was really starting to feel like a bike trip at that point where you're riding in the dark. I don't like to ride at night if I don't have to. But now it's feeling like a bike trip because we're having to push through the night, and we're all hungry, and boom, you get that meal after you've been fighting traffic all day, and that meal is just so good. So we sit down, we crush dinner, we walk out of the diner, and here we are. All right, so here we are out at the Quick Way Diner, one of our favorites out here, the best ice cream north of New York City.
I didn't get to taste it.
That's right. Next time we come up here, when they're open, we'll get that famous soft serve. That's right. If you ever come to the state of New York, look no further than the Quick Way Diner, especially for their ice cream. But yeah, as you can see, it is very dark outside at this point. We are in full-on night, rode out the day, had some good miles. No issues. They patched up a lot of the potholes that were on the main road that we're on right now, so that's good. We got the road captain's insane lighting going on from the good folks over at Moon's MC. Gotta get those passing lamps on. My bike's been doing pretty good. Nick's bike's doing pretty good, and that's it. We had some good miles. We got about 50 more miles or so to go until we set up camp and chill for the night. So now we keep going. I thought I was going to close the video at this point. Now we are riding. It is super dark. And I got to say, huge shout out to Moon's MC, which is what all three of us were running. It's like times like that where you're running on a pitch dark highway with no lights that you really appreciate good lighting on a motorcycle. And I'm running the Fly Eye V2. The road captain's got Fly Eyes plus the passing lamps. Nick's got a Fly Eye. Between those three bikes, we were just throwing off so much light on the road that I was able to confidently ride through the night. Obviously, you're taking the speed down. You're watching for the critters. You're watching for the deer. You're watching for the potholes. There's a lot to look out for. But I was able to do it with confidence just because we had so much light on the road for all this lighting. So major shout out to Moon's MC. But yeah, so now we're riding, and now the craziest thing happens. I'm looking ahead of me, and I just see this like orb, coming towards my dad's bike. And to me, like, it's so small in the beginning that it just looks like a moth. But then as we get further, I'm like, dude, that looks like a hawk, or that looks like a bird or something. And then I just see this thing collide with the top of my dad's Simpson helmet. And then now I realize, I'm like, oh, I know what that is. He hit a bat. We were probably doing 70 miles per hour. He hits the bat. It bounces off and sprays bat guts all over me and Nick behind us. And at that point, I'm watching my dad. I'm like, I don't know how hard that hit him, but it hit him hard enough that, again, it sprayed bat guts all over us. And he was okay. And it was in that moment that I was just like, I'm so thankful that the old man was wearing his full face helmet and not a half helmet, because if you catch a bat in the face at those speeds, it ain't pretty, man. So we were calling him Batman for the rest of the night. So then finally, we pull off to our exit. We're almost at camp. I shot one last video as the old man was going into the gas station to get some celebratory PBRs. And one thing I'll say about that is we never crack open that first beer until the keys are hung up for the night. That's just like one thing about my philosophy, is that I have just zero tolerance for riding with any percentage of alcohol in you. That's just my philosophy. But we wanted to get some celebratory PBRs, so we stopped at the gas station, and here we go. All right, one final good night to y'all. We're almost to camp at the old gas station here. Had a good little ride down the highway. Road captain actually collided with a bat. First time I've ever seen that happen. Spraying guts all over myself and Nick. Never a dull moment. But, we'll give these bikes a little rinse tomorrow before we throw them into the show. But so far, so good. The road captain's going in there to get some PBRs because, you know, you're not a Dyna bro if you're not getting your PBRs, right? And that's really it, man. Any other closing statements of the night?
Tomorrow, better be there. Who we gonna see there? Let us know.
That's it, man. All right, y'all. Have a good night. So that was it. We were feeling good, and now the rest of the night was just all backcountry twisties in the pitch dark. With, again, with the Moon's MC lighting, you could actually do that with confidence. So we kind of like wrapped it up from there, and that was it, you know? It was an excellent night, an excellent first bike trip back, and I actually got my buddy over here, Club Style East Coast. I'm going to pass the mic to him, and, you know, he'll give you a little synopsis of how the night went and where we're going from here.
So awesome ride up. It's all about the people you're riding with and enjoying the experience. Hit some traffic on the way in, which is no problem. And once we passed the boroughs, it was all smooth sailing from there. Had a few drinks last night. I woke up feeling my age, good old ripe young 43. And but had some water this morning, did some push-ups, and I feel good. So I'm ready to blast, ready to rip. We're waiting on the man in black. Once he gets here, we're gonna rip on over to Lost Highway show, and hopefully I'll see you guys there. That's it. BK Low, Club Style East Coast, out.